Yes, K-I-N. Oh, yeah. You turn it up, Philly. It's time to roll on the ones and twos, taking full control. From the link to the X, from the sixes to the fields. One voice cuts through, giving you the real. He broke the stories, he started the fire, launched the whole game back in '86, never retired. Heroes crown him, yeah, they call him the king. Fur coat flashing, bling bling in every ring. He's the hardest working, great talking dog. Call in with your tape, but don't get it wrong. He'll call you a nitwit if you're acting a fool, but deep down you love it. That's the Eskin rule. Riding with the king, yeah, we're riding with the king. Howard Eskin show, let the truth ring. Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, he knows the deal. Philly sports royalty, bow down and kneel. Riding with the king, put your hands in the air. From South Philly streets to the Delaware. No filter, no fear, just the facts on the mic. It's the Howard Eskin show. Let's go get sight. Hey, riding with the king. Riding with the king. Hey, riding with the king. Riding with the king.
And welcome to the Howard Eskin Show as you're riding with the king. There's a lot to talk about, and mostly in Philadelphia, it's really, with all that's going on, it's really about the Eagles. And we can touch on the other things, but we have a really special guest tonight. And what a great story that he became a great player, and that's Kurt Warner. But we'll get to Kurt. I want to thank our presenting sponsors, Stillwell Financial Advisors. Jeff Stillwell is the man. Just got together with Jeff yesterday, alerted me on a lot of things that are going on financially in this country, and he is someone that can help you. And all you have to do is touch base with him, see what he's got to say. Great guy. 732-343-0813. Jeff Stillwell, Stillwell Financial Advisors. Yeah, we're going to touch on the Eagles and what's going on here in Philadelphia and what's going on with the quarterback and what's going on with the fans. And they get crazy, probably crazier than any other city. When they play well, they kind of back off. When they don't play well, they want to fire the coach. And we will talk to Kurt Warner about that. And after we finish with Kurt Warner, I want to talk about Lane Kiffin. What goes on in college football? It's just not right. Coaches they can leave whenever they want to leave. It's really, really unbelievable. But first, I want to tell you about some other fine people that support this program, and that would be Audi of Westchester. And right now, and for December, the new 2025 A5, the redesigned A25, 1.99% financing up to 72 months. That's really a great deal on a great car. Audi Westchester, 1421 Wilmington Pike, and 1.99 financing. Now, these two vehicles have 1.99% financing up to 72 months, and that's the 2025 Q5, a very popular vehicle for Audi, the SUV, the Q5 SUV. I don't know how you can beat it. Check their website, AudiWestchester.com. And if you want to remodel your front yard and your backyard, obviously, maybe you want to put a pool in. Your front yard, they can do that too. Piazza Property Pros, 25 years of experience. You can do the front yard. You can do the backyard. You can do a pool. You can do landscaping. You can do fencing, pool maintenance, whatever you want. These people can do it. 610 and 25 years. When I say 25 years of experience, that's a lot, but they don't subcontract either. 610-566-2608. Schedule a free consultation. Not everybody does that either. That's 610-566-2608. Piazza Property Pros, piazzaoutdoor.com. All right. Like I said, we have a special guest who I would say knows a little bit about football, just a little bit. Let me welcome in Kurt Warner to the program. And I really appreciate Kurt coming on. If I want to talk about quarterbacks, this is one of the guys I want to talk to, Kurt Warner. Kurt, I'm just first of all, welcome and thank you very much for joining the show. I really do appreciate it. The Eagles have some issues right now. I know they're 8-4, but they've lost two in a row twice this season. They've scored a total of in 1 2 game stretch 26 points. They got their defense gave up 900 yards in the last 2 games,
Hmm.
but the focus is on offense. When you look at this team and you look at the overview, how do you, from another part of the country, view the Eagles?
Well, Howard, thanks for having me on. Always good to catch up. Yeah, I think I'd look at them as a team that really for a number of years, but came into this season feeling like their direction and their identity would be exactly the same as it was last year. They looked at the pieces, the personnel, pretty much the same team offensively. And I think they came in and said, hey, we don't need to change anything. We just have to be, good at the things we did a year ago. And it started with obviously running the football, and Saquon Barkley. And that's how they built this thing. And the problem has been, yes, they've had a couple of injuries up front, but they're just not as good, or they're not playing as well up front as they did a year ago. And so there are a lot of struggles in the run game, and they're not getting any explosive big plays in the run game. And so I believe that they've lost their identity a little bit, because this is who we are. This is how we've had success. This is how we went to a couple Super Bowls, and it's not working. So now what do we do, and how do we adjust? And specifically, how do we adjust in the middle of the season? That's the one thing that when you go through training camp and you do all of that, you practice the things that you think you're going to do during the season. You build your offense the way that you're going to play during the season. And so it's not as easy to go, okay, we've got 5 days between this game and the next game. Let's revamp our offense and let's do something completely different. That just doesn't happen. We can make a little adjustment here and a little adjustment there, but I think the biggest thing is they really felt like they were built to play the same way they did a year ago, and it's not working. And with it not working, they're trying to figure out, okay, what can we adjust, or how do we, get better at the things that we should be better at. And to me, I just think the biggest thing is that their offensive line is just not dominating the way it has in the past. And maybe they misjudged that. Maybe it was injuries. Maybe it was just something you couldn't judge as guys get older. But now they have to try to figure out, okay, like you said, we're still 8-4. We're still leading our division. All things point to we're still going to be in the postseason. But how do we make the adjustments, the proper adjustments, whatever those are, so we really have a chance to repeat at this thing? Because the way it's going now, to think, they're going to be able to kind of muddle their way through offense, through the playoffs, and through 2-3 games in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. It's hard to buy into that narrative right now, because they're just not doing anything really well offensively.
All right, Kurt, you've been to Super Bowls. You won a Super Bowl. What is it like? And it's hard to get to the Super Bowl, let alone get back to the Super Bowl. What was it like the following year after you either were in a Super Bowl or you won that Super Bowl? And I was at every one of your Super Bowls, so I
Yeah.
remember them. And then Dick Vermeil was the coach when you won the Super Bowl. But what is it like the next year having to come back, and now you got to go through this all long grind again?
I think the biggest thing that you realize is when you go to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl, there's aspects of it that almost seem easy, because so many things have to come together to win a Super Bowl. And you don't really understand that in the moment or in the season that you're going to the Super Bowl. You're just kind of like, hey, this is going well, and we're winning, and we need to make a play. We're making a play. And you're just kind of like, okay, that's just kind of what we do. And then you come back in these other seasons and you go, oh, geez, it's not as easy as it seemed last year. It's not as easy as that run was. And then you start realizing, okay, whether you either stayed really healthy one year, or maybe you didn't stay healthy and somebody got hurt, but the next guy that came in that year seemed to be not much of a drop off from your starter. And so there's so many of these pieces just kind of fit together when you're having success. And then the years that you're not, you start to realize, oh man, that one injury, man, I didn't realize how big that was going to be, or how that was going to affect us, or the guy we lost in the offseason, right? Because when you win a Super Bowl, everybody on your team is valuable. So your third receiver, somebody wants him as your number one receiver. And so all of a sudden they pluck that guy, and you're leaving, or your depth at the defensive line. Okay. It's like, yeah, our starters are really good, but we didn't realize how much depth and, the different guys that were so successful for us last year, where we could just, plug different guys in, and we could have success at the defensive line. And those guys start to get plucked by different teams and get paid more, and they become the number one guy. But you don't realize how important some of those other pieces are. You look at your starters and you think, okay, as long as we have these starters, we'll be successful. But there's a lot of key pieces on every team and on every Super Bowl team that are hard to be replaced. And so if you can't keep everybody, you start to realize how special those are, and how special those groups of men are. And you don't take it for granted, because sometimes when you're in the midst of it, it's easy to take for granted, because it does almost seem easy, or it seems like, yeah, every time we need to make a play, somebody just shows up, somebody does it, like, hey, this guy's injured, the next guy. And it's just not always like that. And so, outside of a few teams, the Patriots of the last, 20 years with Tom Brady, and then some of the dynasties back in the day when there wasn't the free agency, and maybe the Chiefs team right now, but that's just rare. It's rare to be able to consistently, have that sort of success as you file new guys in, and you have to change little aspects of the game. And you just don't realize it until you're there, and you're like, man, why is this year so much harder than it was a year ago?
Well, looking at it from my perspective, and I'm here, the running game isn't as good because Saquon Barkley had so many carries last year, and historically, that running back the next year just isn't the same. The offensive line, they lost the right guard. The center had surgery in the offseason. I don't think he's as good. That's Cam Jurgens. So the offensive line isn't as good. So the Eagles were a running team. And I know that they didn't want Jalen Hurts to throw more than 21 to 23 times. I don't know if you ever had a game where you threw that few passes. So, but whatever the case, now he's got to do it because they can't run the ball. So take a look at what you see. And I don't know, obviously working with the NFL Network, a lot of those guys have different opinions, but you have your own. Some of those you might share with those people. What do you or the NFL Network people see with or without Jalen Hurts this year?
Well, I mean, I think what we always have to do is we have to recognize different players, and understand different players have different strengths. And there's usually in the NFL, and this, I've covered it for a long time. There's a handful of elite guys, franchise guys, as I like to call them. And for me, an elite or franchise guy is a guy that you believe can drop back 35 or 40 times a game and be the reason that you guys are going to win or have success on offense. And there's not very many of those guys, usually at any point in time in the NFL. And so then everybody else, is kind of that next tier down. And, if you're the next tier down, then it takes different pieces around you for your team to be ultra successful. And so I think when I look at Jalen Hurts, that's kind of what I see. I see a guy that's, kind of in that next tier. He's not a guy, you just said they wanted him to throw 21 to 23 times a game. I mean, that's not very many, obviously, in the NFL, for a start, like, but I think what they realize is that, when the situation's good, and when, he's very comfortable with where he's throwing the football, he's a very gifted thrower of the football, and he can make every throw on the football field. But he hasn't necessarily shown that ability to carry a team week in and week out. We've seen him carry a team for, a week here, a week there. We've seen him play unbelievable in the Super Bowl, or the two Super Bowls that he played in. So we know that he can be really good in stretches as a passer. But we haven't seen that consistency to say, okay, if we can't run the football and we've got to drop back and throw the ball 35 or 40 times a game, that we can be ultra successful throwing it. And so, when I look at Jalen Hurts, I think he's a really good quarterback. I'm not sure he's in that elite category, just in terms of being a quarterback. Like, he's elite in terms of winning. He's elite in terms of playmaking. But sometimes you just have to play quarterback. You have to drop back and play in the pocket and see the field and get the ball out on time and be able to decipher what's going on of the field and consistently make those decisions and those throws to help your team win. And that's, to me, the one thing that Jalen hasn't shown us. And again, I know that sounds like a negative or a knock on Jalen Hurts. Again, let me state that there's usually only a handful of those guys in the NFL at any point in time. I mean, those are the Hall of Famers. Those are the special guys that are different. I mean, I think we could look at a guy like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is a really, really good NFL quarterback. And stats wise, you could even say at times has been great. But I use that analogy because when he had a good running game and a good defense, and he could be the playmaker that he was, his teams were really good and he was really good. And then as he had to transition to teams that weren't built the same way, and he was asked to play more conventional quarterback and do more from that position, he hasn't been nearly as successful as he was early in his career. And a big part of that, to me, again, is because that's not necessarily how he's built. That's not what he does best. And so, we've seen that illuminated a little bit as he's been on teams that have forced him to have to try to play more conventional football. And that's just the nature of again, most teams. Most teams don't have the luxury of having a great team, great defense, a great run game, and then you be a complementary piece, or you be a piece that has to win one game here and one game there, as opposed to having to carry a team every week, like a Joe Burrow, that they're only going to win with him throwing the ball 35, 40 times and him playing well. And he's got the capabilities of doing that, but it's still hard to win that way. But he's shown us that, hey, when all else fails, he's one of those guys that can carry us as a football team. So when it comes to Jalen, that's kind of what I see. A really good quarterback in this league, but a step below elite. And again, that doesn't mean he can't be. That doesn't even mean that he's not that guy. It just means that I haven't seen it yet. He hasn't been forced to do that, and he hasn't shown us that, hey, if this is the way we have to play, if we have to scrap the run game and we've got to throw it every snap, every week to win, I can do that. And maybe he can. We just haven't seen that yet. And so that, to me, brings about the question of, where is he at this stage in his career? And can he be one of those guys if they decide to change their direction and go down that path?
Okay, you mentioned something which really is kind of an issue, I think, with Jalen Hurts. You are correct. You don't have to apologize to say he's not elite, because sometimes a quarterback is going to have to throw the ball 35, as you say, 35, 40
Yep.
times. The Eagles don't want that because I think they're just afraid of the turnovers. But whatever the case may be, they haven't had to do that. But you said see the field. One of the issues, and on all these, and you see them because I'm sure you look at the tapes and you guys analyze it, the NFL Network,
Yep.
there are receivers that are open. So is he going through his progressions well enough to get to those people? And what is it? And you as a quarterback know, what is it that is it instincts? What is it that a quarterback does to be able to see the field, go through his progressions, and find that open receiver?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about processing, the ability to know exactly what you're seeing, to know where your eyes need to go, to be able to determine, in quick fashion. Is that guy going to be open? Do I have to move to the next guy? All of those things. So I've got a theory here, Howard, that as we have transitioned to, for lack of a better term, the more athletic quarterbacks,
Mhm.
um, not just in the NFL, but across football in general. When I started playing football, they put the best athletes at every other position besides the quarterback position, right? It was a running back, it was the wide receivers, it was the guys we were going to give the ball to. And somewhere, in this football, timeline, we made the change and go, okay, why are we doing that? Why don't we just put the best athlete at quarterback and give him the ball every single snap, and that's going to bode well for us. And so we're at in that stage right now. But what I believe happened and has happened in this process is that a lot of these guys that are ultra talented and the best athlete on the football field from a young age, usually, where I shouldn't say usually, we're seeing more of it that from the young age until they get to the NFL, they're the best athlete on the field.
Mhm.
And I don't believe they're truly being taught this idea of processing and seeing the field and reading the game like I was. Like I couldn't run. I wasn't the guy that was going to be able to take off and make a bunch of plays every game. And so if I was going to be successful, I had to learn to process. I I had to learn to do it quickly. I had to learn how to go through my progressions and read defenses and all this stuff. And I believe that, when you have a really good athlete, that we've seen quarterbacks where it's like, hey, go look at your first guy. And if he's not there, go ahead and create it and make a play. And so many of these guys have success doing that, in high school, and a lot of them are doing it in college. And then they get to the NFL and it's like, oh, wow, I'm not the best athlete on the field anymore. And so I think they're a little bit behind the eight ball in terms of, when you compare them to guys like me or the past generations that were forced to do it. Tom Brady's, right? The Peyton Mannings, myself. Like, you have to learn how to do this if you're going to have a chance. And so now they get to the highest level, and now we're going, hey, learn it. Learn it against the best in the world. Learn it when you're on the field trying to win games. Learn how to do this with all this craziness going on around you. And most of them, will struggle with that, at least to a degree, or it's going to take some time for them to get there. And so that's, I think, the hard part of, the direction that we've gone is, is these guys have to do it or are forced to do it less than a guy like me. And so, the more I did it, the more I learned it. The more I got to process, the faster it was. I played arena football. Game was faster. All these things going on. So it helped me to speed up that process. And, for guys that haven't had to do it as much, haven't been forced to do it as much, they're not going to be, in most situations, as good at it as other guys. And so, when we're talking about Jalen, yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy that that struggles at time to work quickly through his progressions. And there could be a bunch of reasons for that. Like in the past, they throw the ball when they load the box and he gets one-on-one on the outside. And so he may be used to just going, hey, all I got to do is pick the first guy because it's one-on-one everywhere across the board, and let me just go throw it to him. And now, he's being forced to have to see coverages and work through things. And again, I don't want to make this statement like he can't process and see things. I just think it needs to be sped up a little bit in terms of exactly what he's seeing, exactly where to go to start his reads, to work through things, so you can get through these things faster. And again, and I think there's also a level of comfort. Jalen Hurts to me seems very comfortable outside the pocket, creating. I remember Steve Mariucci told me a story, one time about Brett Favre. And, he was coaching Brett Favre, and, Brett dropped back and there was a great pocket there. And Brett just took off and got outside. And, when he came over to the sideline, he's like, Brett, what are you doing? There's a great pocket there. Just stand inside there and go through your progressions and read it. And he goes, Coach, I just feel more comfortable out there. like, like playing more of the backyard, like, let me get out here and just kind of see what's in front of me and create. I feel more comfortable in that situation. Bo Nix, we talked to him this year because I think there's a lot of times he gets back to the back of his drop and he's moving, his feet are moving, he's not patient with anything. And I asked him, and he said kind of the same thing. He's like, I just feel more comfortable on the move. So my feet want to move. That's where my comfort zone is. And so a lot of times we're going to fall back to where we're most comfortable. So I think Jalen is very comfortable when he knows what he's seeing and his first read's there or second read's there, and he's dropping back and he's throwing the football, and you see it. When he does that, he throws a beautiful ball. He's very accurate. He has a lot of success. When he's not quite sure, that's when I think he holds the football and he wants to get out and create. And so no longer is it about, having to read and play on time. It's more about, now I can feel comfortable and just create. What do I see? Do I see something? Is something open? Make the throw. If it's not, go run and create. And, and I think, Howard, we have to ask the question with guys that are comfortable like that. How far can they go in terms of the processing? How much can they get better? How much time does it take? Like, I don't know when it clicked for me, because, they talk about, experts, getting 10,000 hours at something to become great at it. Like, I've been doing this for as long as I can remember because I couldn't play the game any other way. And so, can these guys get there? Will they, get to the point where they're really good at that? Or, how much better can they get? Maybe they won't be Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Maybe it won't be that guy, but how close to that can they get? And how much time do they need? And how do you get a guy that's not used to doing that to that point? And so I think it's a fascinating question. And this is just all speculation by me, right? I would have to sit down with
It's
Jalen.
okay.
Jalen, talk me through this. What are you seeing? Why are you, looking here instead of there? Or why are you getting stuck, between this guy and the next? Like, I would have to sit down and talk to him. Maybe I'm 100% off base and I don't know what I'm talking about. It just seems like that. We've got a guy here in Arizona, in Kyler Murray, who is a very, very gifted thrower. He's an incredible athlete. Like, he's played at an MVP type level for periods of time, and he's done so many good things. But when he's forced to stay in that mode and see it and play, he struggles. That's just, and so again, I look at a guy that's always been, and even to this day, I mean, there's times he walks on the field in the NFL and he's the best athlete on the field. And that's why he has those MVP type performances. But I still believe this game, without having all those great pieces around you, comes down to the quarterback position, playing more conventional quarterback. And who can do that and who can't, right? How good are you and how far can you go to get good at that part of the game? Because I look at a Lamar Jackson, right? We know he's as good a playmaker, as great an athlete as we've ever seen at the quarterback position. But he also plays great inside the pocket. He also processes and sees it and plays. And, and now he becomes almost unstoppable. It's why he's won a couple MVPs and could have had a third, like, but you're trying to find all those pieces to figure out, what way do you have to win? And if this isn't working, can you win a different way?
Kurt, you mentioned something which sounds so simple. We all learn at anything we do, but a quarterback, it seems to me, I played high school football, but I wasn't a quarterback. But the reality is the quarterback has to have instincts to learn. I don't know if you agree or disagree. You've got to keep your eyes down the field. And I don't know that Jalen Hurts, when he scrambles, is always keeping his eyes down the field, which Bo Nix, I think, does. Even Caleb Martin in that game, when the Eagles lost their last game, he had a couple of throws where he was running, but he still had his eyes down the field. Do you see that as a problem for Jalen to keep his eyes down the field when he's moving? And how do you learn, and the scouting report for Jalen Hurts coming out of college was he doesn't go through his, it was the same thing that he's dealing with
Yeah.
now. Doesn't go through his progressions that well. So how can you get better at that? And how do you learn, if it's not instincts, to keep your eyes down the field to find your receivers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jalen, like, I see him lots of times when he's rolling out, and I think he's really good on the move and, keeping his eyes down the field and taking some shots. And, other times, again, I can't speak being an athlete. Like when I got out of the pocket, I was always looking to throw the ball. I wasn't looking to run. So it's hard for me to speak to the athletic side of these guys because they've had so much great success running the football. So I don't know the dynamic of, when is it time to tuck it and run? When is it time to take your eyes down the field and create? But I don't, like, when I watch Jalen, I don't think that's something. When he goes and starts to create, I've seen him make a lot of great throws down the field as well as a lot of great runs. So that's not something I'm concerned about as much as, your second question on how do you get better at that? And it's a valid question. And I don't know fully the answer to it. I don't know how much is innate, like, just like, certain guys are gifted with certain things. I think there's a mental gifting that some of us have. And then I also think that there's work that goes into it. So as I said, maybe I was, people would always ask me, do you think the Arena League helped you to become more accurate and to process faster? And I always say, I don't, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, was that stuff that I could do? And then the Arena League just brought it out because it was faster? Or was it something that I wasn't necessarily great at? And the Arena League forced me to become really good at it. Um, and I learned it. And so I don't know the answer to that question. But I would guess that there's probably a combination of both. That there's always ways to get better at different things by putting in the time and learning how to do it the right way. And then I think there's a skill set that comes with that will take you so far as well. Um, I mention to people all the time because, again, I don't know the answer to that question, but I've got a son that plays college football, and I would put his processing up there with anybody that I've seen play at the college level. And I watch all the games on Sunday. I think he processes information as well as most guys that play on Sundays. And I say all that because I coached him. And from the time he was very young, I taught him to read plays, to read defenders, to see what's going on and to see the game. And so, so I think there has to be a level of teaching and learning those things. But the question is, how much time does it take? Is it too late when you get to the NFL level? And again, not for everybody, but maybe for some, like, is it too late? Is there enough time? Is there enough, practice reps for somebody to get great at processing that had never really been taught that part of it before? I don't know. I think it would be really, really hard against the best in the world and the most complicated defenses you're ever going to see to get great at that, through an off season or through reps during the season. But I do think there's ways that you teach it and you rep it and you teach them the proper way and what they're looking for and how to do it. But I think it's a fascinating question, Howard, and I wish I had a definitive answer for you on how much better you can get and how long it does take to do that. I just don't know the answer to that. I've seen guys get better at it. We've seen Jalen, I think, get better at so many parts of quarterback from the time he got into the league to where he's at now. But I think there is room to grow in terms of what we're talking about and how close is he to that word ceiling, right? We use that word ceiling. Oh, ceiling. He's got high. How close is he in terms of processing to his ceiling? Is a fascinating question. And then if he's a long ways from it, how do you get him closer? How do you teach him? How do you go through it so he can get better and better at that aspect of the game?
Kurt, I don't know how much you've heard about the offensive coordinator here in Philadelphia, Kevin Petula. The fans, and you may have heard, these fans are brutal. They egged his house on Saturday. I mean,
Yeah.
disgusting. It's disgusting, disgraceful. It's just, it's be a fan. Don't be an idiot. But the reality is, he gets a lot of heat. And I believe in many cases, not all cases, because some coaches just aren't very good, and you find that out quickly. I think Nick Sirianni's very good. I think Kevin Petula is very good. I think the other coordinators are very good, and that includes Vic Fangio. But how is it difficult for a quarterback and the coordinator, and that's, I guess, the coach that deals with him the most, to get
Yeah.
on the same page sometimes? I think they're on the same page, but I always believe the players are the ones that execute the plays. The coaches aren't on the field. So is there a problem that could be a disconnect because they don't the quarterback doesn't believe in the coach? Did you ever have that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there can be a disconnect. I always talk about, as quarterbacks, we all see the game in a certain way. And that doesn't mean right or wrong or indifferent, but you could take three Hall of Fame quarterbacks and you could give them a play, and one would love it, the next one would be like, it's okay, and then one might hate. Uh, and you're like, how's that possible? These are all great quarterbacks that know how to play the game, and one loves it and one hates it. Like, but the way we process and see the game is different. So my greatest years, the most fun that I had playing the game was when I had coordinators that saw the game the way I saw the game. That understood what I was seeing and what I needed to process information. Like, what details of this play are important for Kurt to be able to see and read and process as fast as he does. And so when I had guys that saw it and understood it and could listen to me and make sense of what I was saying, it made everything better in our offense. And the main basic plays might have been the same with those guys as they were with other guys that didn't see it the same way. But when I would tell the other guys, hey, this is what I need and this is why, they would kind of look at me like crazy, like, what are you talking about? Like, why does that matter? Like, and I'm just like, and so there's this disconnect here of them not understanding what I see or how I play the game. And I think that can be a real problem for teams. Even though the plays look the same or the playbook might, all the words might be same in the playbook, understanding, in this particular case, Kevin and Jalen, understanding each other and understanding the why and making it make sense. And so it connects to how Jalen sees the game, I think is extremely important. And without that, it can be a struggle on a week to week basis. I was with some coaches that weren't bad coaches, but they didn't see the game the way that I did. They didn't want to call a game the way I wanted to play it. So for instance, I could use my example when I was in New York. We wanted to be a more deliberate, kind of an option team. Like, this guy's going to go down and he could hook it, or he could break in, or he could break out, or he could go deep, and all of this stuff. And it's like, Eli came into that offense and excelled in that offense because he didn't quite process like I did, and he didn't anticipate like I did. I was a very anticipatory player, and that was how I saw it. And I wanted to get the ball out, and it was about timing, and it was about being definitive with your routes. So when I was in New York, it was a constant struggle for me because I'm like, I don't play this way. Like, I don't want to wait for this guy and hope that he makes the right decision. Just tell him what to do and tell me what to do, and I will read it and I'll get it to the right guy. And so there was a complete disconnect when I would go out there because I just felt like I wasn't able to play the game to my strengths and play to my speed and to use my processing to help us be successful. I was trying to fit in to what they wanted to do. And so, and it didn't mean they were bad. It didn't mean I was bad. It just didn't look good because we didn't mesh. We didn't fit together. And so I think that's a thing that happens a lot. Is that coaches know what they know, players know what they know, And if they don't meet and they can't figure out how to, close that gap, even though it might look the same on the field in terms of what they're running, the disconnect in terms of, playing the game and a quarterback playing free and a quarterback feeling comfortable, can be really, really big, even when people on the side can't make it make sense or can't understand it because everything seems to look very similar to how it has in the past.
They have meetings every week. The quarterback sits down with the head coach and the coordinators, and he says, "All right, what are you comfortable with? And this is what we think will work. But what are you comfortable with?" So they go over all those things. But I still believe that players are the ones, and the quarterback has options at the line of scrimmage. It's not like here's the play and this is what you got to run, because the quarterback will see things and he'll have options. I still believe it's the players that make plays, and it's too easy. And fans do this more than anybody else. They blame the coaches all the time. Nick Sirianni was going to be fired after 4 games last year, and then all of a sudden they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So now they want to fire him again because they've lost games in a row. And Kevin Petula, they've been on. It's always somebody else's fault because fans love the players, and that's okay. That's why they're fanatical.
Yeah.
That's why they're fans. But somewhere along the line, I believe that players have to make, and that's me. That's it's not you, but I believe that players have to make plays, and sometimes you can't always blame the coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand your point, and I do believe there's validity to that point. Is that we have to go out and play at a certain level, and to be successful, and we've got to consistently perform in certain ways when we're put into those positions to be successful. But I'm also a firm believer that that coaches and play design and the details, the littlest details, can make the biggest difference for a player to perform. And we'll use a great example because I broke it down, and it was maybe the most talked about play in the game last week, or maybe any game, was the missed pressure situation between Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts against Chicago. And now there's video coming out on Hard Knocks to say, okay, Jalen thought he was going to do this, and Devontae did this because they talked about it during the week, and Jalen maybe signaled what he wanted and all that stuff. And I broke it down and I talked about it, and I see all these facets. Even when I'm hearing about it, like, I get it. They talked about it during the week, and it was going to be a break in, and then Jalen wanted it to be a hook, and and then in the game they mess it up and they miss a great opportunity to score, and maybe it wins that game for them or not. Now, when I broke it down, the thing that I remembered when I was playing was we left no room for error with some of those things. Like, when we got into that situation, if we were running that route and we said, okay, Devontae, if you get pressure here, this is what we do every time. It might not be the best thing every time versus what the defense does, but this is what we're going to do. There will be no indecision by me. There should be no indecision by you. And we will complete this pass because you're going to break out every single time that guy off your head comes. I'm going to put it on you, and then you go make a play. Like, we're not going to leave room for error. And so, again, back to my time in New York, when we were running all these option route things, like, there was room for error. And that's why I didn't like it, because I'm like, I'm seeing this, you should hook here. Oh, shoot, he's going deep. And now everything's discombobulated and it's off. And so, things like that, as a coach, it's easy to go, well, I left it to you guys to talk about what you wanted to do. And, and then there was a to me, I would say, if I'm a coach, I like details. So I would tell my guys, this is what we're going to do. Every time we get pressure, this is our adjustment. Okay. Now we know. Now there's no indecision. And so I believe, coaching in the little details can be extremely important for players to be successful. I'm a guy that everything, like, to me, everything has a why. Why is this guy going to release this way? Why is he going to run to this depth? How is this going to connect to the quarterback's drop? How does he, have the ability and the timing to make sure that he can do these certain things, and he can do what I'm asking him to do? So, yes, there's a responsibility for players to play well, without a doubt. But I think there's a huge responsibility for coaches to put their players in the best positions to be successful as well. And so, I think both are really, really important. And it's, very seldom can we ever, very seldom we're ever going to say it's all on the coaches. But I believe as quarterbacks, we have to take ownership of our offenses. And just like you were talking about, we sit down with our coaches and we talk about what do we like this week. Like I remember when coaches would put in plays, uh, if there was something I was uncomfortable with, I always voiced that opinion. And not only did I voice that I wasn't comfortable with it, but I voiced what I want the answer to be as well. And so I thought that was always important, because if you just go to a coach and you go, Coach, I don't like your play. It's not, I don't like it. Then the coach is going to be like, well, I like it. I've had success with it. Why don't you like it? And you just go, I don't like it. The coach is probably going to go, well, we're going to run it anyways because I like it and I feel good with it. If you go to, hey, coach, I understand what you're trying to do here. Go ahead, just like this. But on the backside, do you mind if we change it to this? Because if I get cover two, I don't really feel comfortable with this combination over here. But if you give me this, now I go, all right, if I get the coverages you want, I'll read your play and I'll make your play successful. And then if I get this other coverage, now I'm comfortable over here. Now I'm going into the game and I'm like, love this play. Now it's got answers. And my coach sees it and goes, oh, great. He feels comfortable with this over here. He's not changing my play that I think can be really successful. Now we're working together, and the coach respects me and he understands where I'm coming from. I'm respecting the coach and what he's trying to do while also trying to make it the best thing for us and for our team. And I think all of those things are so vital and important to be successful. And so as a quarterback, you got to know and you got to understand those things and what makes a play good and bad, and what you need differently. And I think you have to understand that as a coach as well. But if you don't, you have to be able to listen and learn from the other one to help all of us be most successful.
Kurt, you are an amazing story, which I know that the NFL Films has probably done stories on it. Just the perseverance that you had to have. Okay, you're a 1 year starter at a 1AA school. You go to the Arena League for 3 years. Then you come out, and this coach takes you on his team. Well, Green Bay was the first one, and you didn't make it there. So now you go to the Rams, and you go to Dick Vermeil. And after that, you became a two-time MVP, a Super Bowl champion, a Pro Bowler, a Hall of Famer. And there was one coach that gave you the chance. And that was both a friend of both of us. Although, by the way, he didn't like me at the beginning because I criticized some of the things he did with the Eagles. But now we're really great friends. I've been over to his house. We've been out to dinner together. It's been great. But what was it about Dick Vermeil? I mean, just think of that moment. And I'm sure you've thought about it many times because people had to ask you about it. But this is the first time I've talked to you about it. When Trent Green gets hurt, Dick Vermeil has this emotional news conference, and Kurt Warner's our quarterback, and we're going to win. What was that all like? And that, obviously, you and the coach were on the same page there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure Dick fully believed what he was saying in that moment, but I did appreciate it without a doubt. That vote of confidence is always great as a player, to feel like you're coach. And again, I don't want it to sound like Dick didn't believe in me. I think he believed in what he saw. He believed in what he had seen over the year that I had been there as the third string guy, and what I had shown in preseason and what have you. But I don't think he really knew, just like nobody else really knew what I was capable of. And so it was a great vote of confidence at the time, just to say, hey, we're going to give this kid a shot. We don't know what to expect. But this is what we think is going to happen. We think we're going to have success. We're going to go play good football around this guy. But I do believe that there was a part of Dick that saw himself in me, that always looked at himself as kind of the underdog, the guy that was overachieving and persevering to get to where he was. And so I think there was a belief and a hope in my situation because of his background, and it allowed him to believe in me maybe in a different way. I mean, how many coaches have movies made about a couple of their players, that kind of came from nowhere and that they gave a shot and that they had success. And so, it's pretty crazy to think about. But at the same time, that vote of confidence was huge. But I also was very realistic to go, yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, if there's some skepticism from Dick or anybody else, it makes sense. Like, nobody knows where I came from, and coming from a grocery store and playing it, like, nobody knows how good or bad I'm going to be. But just the fact that he gave me the shot, the year before, he moved me up to the backup because of what he saw, and I was the scout team player of the year, the year before, and for him to come out in that moment and go, hey, you know, we believe Kurt can play based on what we've seen. We're going to give him a shot, and we're going to play good football. Was a huge moment for me because there was a lot of ways to go. Dick at the time, it was in his third year with the Rams. A lot of speculation that if he didn't win that year, he's probably going to be out as a coach. And so knowing all of that, stuff that's there, I'm sure a part of him is like, oh my gosh, my career, sits on the balance of this kid that we don't even know anything about, that's never played in the NFL. And I got to make a decision here. But he went with his gut more than he went with his head, probably, and said, but I believe with what I've seen and, what I know, I'm going to give this kid a shot. And so, obviously it made all the difference for me, for him to believe in me, to give me that shot, and not go out and get somebody to replace me. And again, I wouldn't hold it against him that they were looking or they were trying to get somebody, but just the fact that he said, hey, we're going to go with this guy. Like, he's been here. We believe in him. We're going to give him the ball. And, maybe that was, in his mind, it's one game, maybe it's two. I don't know what it was, but just the fact that he put the ball in my hands for a short period of time to say, here's your chance. We're going to give you that chance to succeed was, so instrumental for me and meant so much to me, that he would do that.
You know, when I when I look back at that season, I love a quarterback that throws the football. I love to see a passing game. The running game is hey, with Saquon Barkley rushed for 200 yards. Okay, that's all hunky dory. That's all great.
Yeah.
But I want to see a quarterback. Boom, boom. I want to see passes all over the field. But the quarterback's got to be good to do that. And you obviously had that in you to be able to do it. Now, you had great wide receivers, but you just had a pretty good running back too, and you still threw the ball. It was an amazing time, and I don't know how you could ever forget how that game ended, that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
On the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's got to be a moment that I remember it. I mean, and well, obviously I had a relationship with Dick Vermeil, so it was probably different for me, but it wasn't different for you. What a great, great career. And I can't I can't say enough about how much fun it was to watch you play the game. And I'd like to see more quarterbacks like that. That's why, I mean, Mahomes, you like to see. Now, he can scramble around, but he does like to throw the football.
Very much.
If you had to take your three best quarterbacks right now in the league, and I'm going to end with this, and then I want to talk about some things that you do for people. Who would you be and I know it's hard to get to top three. Who would be your top three?
Wow. That is really hard. I mean, I think Patrick is the best quarterback out there because of all the things he brings to the table. I think you're right. He is very uniquely gifted and sees the field and processes the field and plays inside the pocket extremely well. He's got just a knack of making those athletic plays. And again, he's not the fastest, but he's got a feel and an instinct for the game that I think is really, really rare. So I put him in the mix. I would say Joe Burrow. And, again, Joe is one of those guys that I think processes information and plays more conventional quarterback better than anybody in the league. And he shows, when a lot of people say, oh, the drop back quarterback is dead, he shows us that that's not true. And it doesn't mean that, he can't move or he's not athletic. That's not what I'm saying. He plays the game conventionally most of the time, seeing it, reading it, processing it, getting it out on time, playing with accuracy, all of it. And I believe as long as football's around, that will always give you a chance to win. And so he sits there in those top three too. Now, here's where it gets really, really hard for me. Man. And, in this day and age, like right now, I would probably have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Matthew Stafford in that mix for that third spot. And again, it's maybe just, what's your flavor? What do you like? The way Matthew Stafford is playing, he's gifted physically, and you can say gifted athletically, although it's not like the other guys. His right arm and what he's able to do with that right arm is so unique. And he's playing at an extremely high level as more of a pocket passer. I mean, Lamar is special now. I think the only thing to me is with him is I want to see him play at that extremely high level in the biggest moments. And that's the one piece that maybe pushes him out right now, because all the other things, like he plays great in the pocket. I mean, we've seen him had a number of perfect games from a quarterback rating. We've seen him win the MVP. Like, he is so good. It's hard for me not to put him there. And I would say the same with Josh. Like, Josh has shown so many great things and traits, and the ability to play in the pocket and the ability to make plays outside the pocket and all of those things. I would put those guys as my top five. I don't know which one I would slide in at number three with those other two if I had to choose right now. But they're all up there in the mix, probably for different reasons.
All right. I mean, I know you're a good guy. There's a lot of people that I know that that you're a good guy and you help people. Some of the foundations, and I know that one that's probably closer to your heart is Treasure House. Can you tell people a little bit about that, and if they ever want to get involved, how they could do that?
Yeah, for sure. So my oldest son, Zach, who's actually 36 now, suffered a traumatic brain injury when he was 4 months old. And so has dealt with the challenges of that, the mental challenges. He's legally blind, and those challenges his entire life. And, when he graduated from high school, it was really about a quest to figure out how to give him a full life, how to be able to help him step into his purpose and things that he loves and be surrounded by a community and all of those things. And so Brenda, my wife, and I, decided to create our own place that's a community living facility for young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so we've got one here in Arizona, and it's full and it's thriving and it's life-changing for, our son, for our family, and for so many other families. And our quest is to fill that need across the country into the future. And so we figured out the model. We figured out how we want to do it, and now the idea is to make sure that we can figure out a way to pay off our building here and create the next one, and then create the next one, and create the next one. And so it's been a labor of love. It's been a journey for sure, but it's been awesome to see how Treasure House has impacted the lives of the families that are connected to it. And we're always looking for people that have the same plight, that are interested in impacting this area of their community. And so if anybody's interested to find out more, to help us in any way, just, jump on the internet to treasurehouse.org, and it'll let you know what we're doing and what we're all about and how to contact us if you're interested.
Okay. It's treasurehouse.org, right?
Yep.
That's okay. And people should jump on there if they want to help. And hopefully you get more and more people to help. It's always good to help people. Kurt, I want to tell you, it's so enjoyable to talk to you. And I know we went longer than I thought we'd go, but you're so fascinating the way you talk to. I will say I don't call them interviews. I call them conversations when we can do it like this, because we're just having a back and forth
Yep.
conversation, which is really fun. I've interviewed Muhammad Ali when he was still boxing. That shows you how far back I go. And that
Oh,
was fun because he was Muhammad Ali.
oh,
You're
yes.
in you're in the top three. You're in the top three,
Oh,
Kurt.
well,
You're in the top three.
I love talking ball. I love, getting into the nuances of it all, and people that just love the game and are cheering for people. That's what I love about you, Howard. Is that you cover the game and you do what you got to do, but you cheer for people, and you want everybody to be successful, and you want to find out how you can help somebody to be successful, whether it's on the field, off the field, whatever that is. And that to me is what I love when you talk about having a conversation that with somebody that believes in the things that you believe in, that are passionate about the things you're passionate about. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate you having me on, and I'll look forward to doing it next time.
Okay. Hey, Kurt, thank you so much. And good luck with treasurehouse.org. Good luck with that. Good luck with your career. But whatever you do, you're going to do it well. And the one thing I always learned, people help people who want to help themselves. And it seems like you do that as well and do it very well. Thanks, Kurt. It's really been fun and it's really been a pleasure. Thank you.
You got it, my man.
Kurt Warner, what a fun, what a fun guy. Uh, I've had a lot of great conversations doing these, and I've had a lot of great conversations in my career. And I did have a conversation on the air, on radio with Muhammad Ali, and that was fun. That was really fun. And Kurt is fun because he enjoys talking about this. And obviously, I knew, and I know, not knew, I know he's a good person. He likes to help people, and that was important, and that's really good. All right, let me kind of regather. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about. I have a question for you to win a pair of Oakley sunglasses. I have a winner from last show, but first I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Jeff Stillwell, who I got together with yesterday. We just kind of shot the you know what, and we talked about a lot of things in sports, which he's obviously a great sports fan. But we talked about a lot of the things that are changing now in the world with your investments, your wealth, whatever you need to do. Give Jeff Stillwell a call. Stillwell Financial Advisor, 732-343-0813. Also, Audi Westchester's got another sale going on this month. Now, they continue with one of these, the A5, the new remodeled A5, 1.99% financing for up to 72 months. 1.99%. That's like almost, it's not like you're even paying an interest rate. You can have some fun. They have a great inventory of vehicles at Audi Westchester, 1421 Wilmington Pike, and the Q5 SUV, 1.99%. That continues in the month of December. There are really good deals going on right now at Audi Westchester. You stop in, grab a cup of coffee, grab some snacks, talk to the people, have some fun, and look at some really great vehicles. And you can get a great vehicle at Audi Westchester and the A5, 1.99%. Check it all out, AudiWestchester.com. And if you want to get some things done to your home, you want to spruce up your property when guests come over. Not only do they do your back, they do the front. They can take care of a lot of things. Piazza Property Pros, 25 years of experience. And when you don't subcontract and it's all your own people, whether it's the landscaping, well, it's remodeling your front, remodeling your back, pool maintenance, building a pool. You can do all those things. Piazza Property Pros. Piazza does a great thing for you, the people, for outdoor living. 610-566-2608, 610-566-2608. Check them out on the internet, on their website, piazzaoutdoor.com. All right. A couple of other things I want to talk about. Kevin Petullo, these morons, these losers, these jerks that, it's vandalism. It's vandalism. People they lose a game, and some Eagles fans, this is created because of social media. This is created because people think that they can be the star with social media, and then it just escalates into something like that. All this anger, and it's not anger. It's not it's beyond opinions. The anger over Kevin Patullo. I know that the coach and the player have to see eye to eye, but I'm telling you, I know they work as so much with making Jalen Hurts feel comfortable. He does that. It's wrong to blame Kevin Patullo, and that's why every week is he still the play caller? Every week he's still the play caller. 2 weeks in a row, the Eagles' defense has sucked, giving up 900 yards on the other team's offense in the last 2 games. Do they question Vic Fangio? No, because he's a good coach. But it's beyond. But when people egg his house, that's disgraceful. And to his credit, uh, Kevin Patullo didn't run away from it when he spoke, as we speak on Wednesday, when he spoke today about that situation.
Fortunately, it happened. I've been here for 5 years now, and it's been awesome. I mean, this is such a unique place to coach and play. It's very special. We've been to 2 NFC Championship games. We've won at Lincoln Financial, a Super Bowl. The parade is it's an amazing atmosphere to be a coach and a player. And as coaches and players, we all know that part of our job is to handle criticism. And so it's perfectly acceptable to sit up here and talk about what's going on, how to fix it, what we're going to do going forward, and we know that. But when it involves your family, obviously crosses the line. And so that happened. And at this point, we just got to move on. We're trying to win. That's all we want to do is focus. Whether it's my family, whether it's the team, all we're trying to do together is focus on this week. We've got a long week, which has been good to have an extra day of preparation and go out to LA and beat the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good coach. I know people don't believe it. He's a good coach. He is. And Nick Sirianni, people want to fire Nick Sirianni. I mean, all these clowns. It's out of control. It's out of control anymore. It's out of control. Good people, they want to fire Nick Sirianni now. They want to fire, well, they've already wanted to fire Kevin Patullo. And Nick Foles made a comment. Now all of a sudden, because he's doing podcasts, he's got to say something. The Eagles lacked heart and passion. No, the other team was better. The other team was better, and the Eagles aren't as, sometimes you have to face reality. The Eagles are a good team, but they're not as good as they were. Before I get to a couple other points, I want to talk about the winner last of the what was it? The Chickies and Pete's gift certificate. Michael Chalfant. Congratulations. I asked a simple question. All you do is listen. Mark Lawrence is the first team he mentioned as his pick in college, and the first team he mentioned as his pick in the pros. It was Florida State and it was Arizona. So, and Michael Chalfant was one of many people that submitted. Actually, you have a chance. It's selected at random, and we're not going to select the same winner twice. So you have a chance to win. And Michael Chalfant, congratulations on winning the Chickies and Pete's gift certificate. Now, I also want to tell you that we're going to give away a pair of Oakley sunglasses. Why do we call it a pair? We give away Oakley sunglasses. If you listen to the conversation, if you missed it, go back. At the end of the show, and I'm going to mention it, I just want to tell you about it. I'm going to give you a question very shortly. You answer the question, go to my contact page at howardeskin.com by midnight Friday, December 5th. Watch a show on Saturday, 8 a.m., either on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube, and you're automatically notified when the show comes on. But if you follow all my tweets, you can be notified on Twitter or X as well. So, and I'll give you the question shortly. I want to thank people for their comments. Kurt Warner, obviously, a lot of people really enjoyed the conversation. I see some of the people that listen to the show a lot. Patty H., Tony, Ted. And Ted, it is a great cause that Kurt Warner has. He is an awesome human being. That's Philosopher 7632. Yeah, there's so many people. George is, I think, on vacation, and he's still listening to the show. George made some comments, but thank you for all your comments, and thank you for being a listener. Yeah, it will be interesting if Mahomes doesn't make the playoffs this year. They have lost a lot of players, and their offensive line sucks. Really, it really is not good. There's a lot of good when you look at quarterbacks, um, and Kurt Warner mentioned 5. I can give you some others that are ahead of Jalen Hurts as well. That doesn't mean Jalen Hurts is bad. That just does. It just means that people have over evaluated how good he is. But Nick Foles made a comment on his. They lacked heart and passion. Come on, Nick. You're not even You're not even close to the locker room. You had a great game, and we'll never forget what you did to help this team win a Super Bowl. But and then he wants Kevin Batula to go in the coaching box. And I think he was wrong. He said he was in the coaching box last year. I don't think he was in the coaching box last year. I thought he was down on the field. But whatever, he feels and the players feel that he can communicate better with the players. Nick, great, great, great memory in Philadelphia. But some of the things you're saying now, you're talking out your rear end. So I'm just saying that. And another guy that spoke out of his rear end, and I'm going to close with this. Lane Kiffin may be a good college coach, but he is such an absolute bullshitter. Absolute friggin' bullshit. When he said, listen to this, and I'm going to comment it. His comment at his news conference being introduced at LSU.
I said through the process, okay, I'm never going to make a decision on money. And I'm telling you right now, I don't know what my contract is here. That's not very financially responsible, okay? I'm sure it's really good, okay? I don't know what it is, nor did I know at the other places what the numbers were. Because I said in the beginning, I told Jimmy Sexton, don't tell me the numbers, okay? I want to make a decision that has nothing to do with money for me. Now, tell me the numbers in the plan for what the money is for the players. Because that's everything in that area to me, okay? Not what I make, what they make to understand how can you build this. And if you're going to make a change and you're going to move and all these people are going to move and you're going to do all this and go through all that, which was a very challenging, obviously, last 48 hours, in a lot of ways sucked. It's the only way I can describe it. It sucked for a lot of people. And there was no way to possibly do it, in my opinion, any better than we did from a timing standpoint, because it's a bad scheduling system of how it's set up, and eventually hopefully it gets like the NFL where you can't do that in the season and don't have to make those.
Bullshit. The bullshit meter went off. Bullshit. All right. Lane Kiffin, you've left jobs and you've left in many cases for more money. All right. Okay, well, instead of paying you 12 to 13 million a year at LSU, they're only paying you 3 or 4. But you didn't care. You didn't care what the numbers were. You wanted to go to LSU all along. You wanted to build up the number. That's what you were going to do, and it wasn't going to change. That's what you were going to do because LSU has the money to buy players, and that's a disgrace in college sports as well. But to say, I know his agent. I know him well. But he'll never tell me the truth. To say you didn't know what the numbers were, total nonsense. And you were going to leave. And then he makes this grandstand. I wanted to stay at Mississippi. You knew, and Mississippi confirmed this. You knew once you took the job, and coaches shouldn't be allowed to do that. Once you took the job, you couldn't stay. You're competing for the same recruits, and the window opened for the letters of intent for the high school players. You knew you wouldn't be able to stay. It's nonsense. Oh, I wanted to stay. You knew you couldn't. Jerk. What a jerk. What a jerk. Now I know who I'm rooting against. I thought Notre Dame was my top target because Notre Dame doesn't have to play a conference championship, so they get a break getting into the college playoff system. But now my number one target to lose all the time would be LSU, because Lane Kiffin, you are a fraud, all right? A fraud. Sick and tired of these lying coach. Oh, it wasn't for the money. Well, no, well, then give back $6 of the million and give it to students to help with their tuitions. Why don't you do that? So, because it wasn't about the money. Give me a bleeping break. All right. Enough. All right, let me give you the question to win the Oakley sunglasses. I asked Kurt Warner his top 3. He gave me his top 5 quarterbacks right now that he thinks in the NFL. You give me 4 of the 5. 4 of the 5 that he mentioned. You give me 4 of the 5, and the people with the correct answer submit it to my website. You give me 4 of the 5, and we'll announce the winner on Saturday. Go to howardeskin.com. Go to the contact page. Give me 4 of the 5 that he mentioned. You don't have to give me all 5. I don't want to make it too tough on you. You want a pair of Oakley sunglasses. All right. But he broke it down. He had, and there's Jalen wasn't one of them. I'll give you a hint. Jalen wasn't one of them. George, what a great human being Kurt Warner is. Great conversation. That comes from George. Thanks for the comment, George, and thanks for listening. I believe you're still on vacation. Thanks to everybody that listened. Thanks to Joe Gangemi on the other side for all the technical help. Thanks to Tony Anastasia for all the graphics and all the work that she does on the website and with all the graphics. And thank you, and thanks to Kurt Warner. What a great guest, and what a sensational conversation. I loved it. And to get people like that is really great. Thanks. You have a great night, a great day tomorrow, and I'll see you. And you'll hear me or see me, but I'll see you on Saturday. Thanks for riding with the king, listening to the Howard Eskin Show.
Yes, K-I-N. Oh, yeah. Hey, now turn it up, feel it. It's time to roll on the ones and twos, taking full control. From the link to the X, from the sixes to the fields. One voice cuts through, giving you the real. He broke the stories, he started the fire, launched the whole game back in '86, never retired. Heroes crown him, yeah, they call him the king. Fur coat flashing, bling bling in every ring. He's the hardest working, great talking dog. Call in with your tape, but don't get it wrong. He'll call you a nitwit if you're acting a fool, but deep down you love it. That's the Eskin rule. Riding with the king, yeah, we're riding with the king. Howard Eskin Show, let the truth ring. Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, he knows the deal. Philly sports royalty, bow down and kneel. Riding with the king, put your hands in the air. From South Philly streets to the Delaware. No filter, no fear, just the facts on the mic. It's the Howard Eskin Show. Let's go get sight. Hey, riding with the king. Riding with the king. Hey, riding with the king. Riding with the